right, we'll call the meeting to order for April 12th, 2016. Introduction of late items to the agenda. We have none? None? Okay. Approval of the agenda as submitted. Mover, please.
Moved.
So moved.
Second.
Councillor Reichart, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? Carried. The next item on the agenda is the reading and the approving of the March 22nd minutes. However, administration has noticed there is an omission in it, so we'll direct administration to correct that and bring it back, and we'll approve it at the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
Okay.
I don't need a motion on that or anything, do I? No. All right, next item on the agenda is petitions and delegations. So we have a petition done by the business owners of McBride for the utility fees and charges bylaw number 726.016. It is on page, sorry, I didn't even write it down. It's tab 9.
Okay.
Okay. I did write it down. So with this one, as there isn't anything really attached to it, except for the letter on page 8, I can tell you what I have done is I have done up an email to the CAO requesting full written disclosure from the CFO on what should be some recommendations to increase the water, sewer, and garbage fees, showing that the residential customers are subsidizing the business customers. So, do I need a motion for that one, Kelly?
No, you don't for direction.
Okay, so I've already given it in an email, so we'll just direct administration to follow up on that, please. We're still waiting on the urban chicken survey. You've got till May 2nd to complete that and get it back to the village office. And then the next one we'll go into is the updating of the time and the start time and finish time of council, and then the debate on where the public and press should be moved. So I believe, and council can correct me if I'm wrong, everybody agreed to amend the starting time from 1930 to 1900 hours.
Okay.
So can I get a motion to accept, a motion to amend that?
Second.
Councillor Tracy. Seconded by Councillor Reichart. Any discussion on that? No, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. The next one is amending the finish time from 22:30 to 2200 hours. I believe we were all in agreement on that one. So can I get so moved by Councillor Reichart, seconded?
I'll second it.
Councillor Tracy. Any comments or questions on that? No, I'll call the question then. All in favor? Carried. All right, so Schedule A, order of business, it was defeated at the last one. However, questions arose because there was different interpretation from council. When we originally put it out there, it was to move it from after in camera to before in camera. And then when we reworded the motion, Councillor Thompson put in that it should be moved to number 5, which would be ahead of unfinished business, which was where it was in the first place when we moved it. So we need to decide where we want it, and I don't think I can even do a motion until we decide where we want it.
That's correct, yes.
So can I open the floor up for debate on it then? All right, so mine was to move it, ours was originally to move it to just before in camera. And Councillor Thompson, you wanted to move it to number 5. Did you want to address that?
Sure.
Sure.
So, back on, I believe it's March, I can't even remember now when it was actually,
I don't have the dates in front of me, sorry.
but there was a motion made, duly, moved and seconded, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Reichert, to do these three things. And the third thing was to move the public questions to number 5. So it would fall in line with petitions and delegations, which would provide community members the opportunity to comment on items on the agenda prior to decisions being made by this council. Because if it goes to number 10, or just before in camera, all of our deliberations and decisions have been made. And then, I guess what would happen then would be that public might stand up and say, well, you made a good decision, or you didn't make a good decision, but it doesn't give our community an opportunity for meaningful input in things that might come up. And therefore, I made the argument that I tried to plead my case to give the community members who attend the opportunity to speak to things on the agenda prior to decisions being made, thus putting it at 5 as opposed to just before the end. Because it seems at the end, it's not really asking for input. It's done. That's my comment.
Okay. I agree.
Yeah,
Well, the history on it is that we were going over and over and over things, letters and stuff like that, so we had moved it, recognizing, of course, that the public comment period isn't an actual requirement, that it's a courtesy. So any way you guys want to do it, I honestly just want to get it over with. So if you don't want it before in camera, if that's too late, we can move it to 5 and have it set up with the delegations and,
Yeah, I think it makes sense just to have it number 5, because Councillor Thompson's right, it doesn't give the public any chance to, because everything's already been said and done by the time they get a chance to speak on it.
well, and the truth is too, if it starts to be abused again, we can just remove it from the agenda
Absolutely.
altogether.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. So let's give that a,
You wanna give that a
I,
go?
yeah.
Okay, so I would,
Madam
sorry.
Mayor, so going with that, the bylaw item, the bylaw number would then be 759.3, so that would be the motion then.
Okay. All right, so it would be moved to item number 5, not item number 10. So I would need a motion that the council procedure bylaw 759.3 be given its first and second reading.
So moved.
I'll second.
And I'll third.
I don't think we have an avenue for that, but thank you.
Second the motion?
All right, so any other discussion then? All in favor? Carried. And that'll take effect as of once we get the bylaw updated,
That's
correct?
correct,
Okay.
yes.
So for tonight, it's in the number 10 position. All right, so reports from council. Councilors, who wants to go first?
I'll go first. Okay. On March 26th, I toured the lagoon. A local resident asked me wanted to go through, and some of the signs could use a little bit of lifting up. They're starting to bend a little bit, and some of the trees are looking sad, but I think a little bit of attention is going pretty good out there. It's quite nice. I never actually toured the whole, like walked all the way around. It's quite nice out there. On the 29th, we had a meeting here with a local citizen and a budget meeting. March 30th, community forest meeting and the public meeting for the library, the Alps Hall. It was well attended, lots of information was given, and voting day is April 30th. I think, Kelly, did you put some
I did.
reminders back there for the voting and advance voting? April 5th, we had a public input meeting. April 7th, we met with Terry McKeon and Renee McCloskey from Regional District in regards to the Robson Valley Region Economic Development and Marketing Program. It was quite interesting, well done, and I'm looking forward to learning more on that part. And that was it for me.
Councillor Tracy?
Yeah, more or less the same, the budget meeting on 29th. Forgot that April 1st, the Eat Church fight against cancer election.
Oh, right.
It was quite enjoyable and a good turnout. April 2nd, the board meeting, MCFC board meeting. April 5th, the public input meeting. April 7th, and that was a really good sit down with Terry and Renee. And I look forward to hearing more. And that's it for me.
Councillor Thompson.
I'll go back to March 29th. We had the budget meeting. This was the 5th in a series of meetings, which began with our budget primer on January 29th. March 30th, I had a Healthy Communities meeting, and just to update, the Healthy Communities Committee is planning, in partnership with the McBride District Public Library, a community walk and awareness and a barbecue to highlight spring and summer opportunities at the Robson Valley Recreation Center and other facilities in McBride. It's scheduled for Sunday, May the 15th in the afternoon, and more information will come out later as this gets finalized. I attended the March 30th library referendum meeting. I felt that the information presented by the regional district was good and informative with regard to the voting process, so that was worthwhile. April 5th was the public input session for the budget. I was pleased to see a number of members of the public there with an interest in important questions for the budget process. April the 6th, I had a youth committee meeting and we discussed opportunities that are upcoming in the community. We also discussed our annual Summer Street Festival events. Just preliminary discussions, but Kelly, I've got the dates proposed on there. We'll do the formal thing as we get moving along
Closer to.
with regard to street closures, but the youth committee is looking at 2 street dances, one on July the 13th, one on August 24th, with 2 additional events, street hockey or some surprise event that is being worked on for July 27th and August the 10th. And those are evening activities starting at about 6 o'clock until the sun goes down. April the 7th, I attended with other councillors the Robson Valley Region Information Session. I was pleased to be reacquainted with the program. I know about it. I've been involved with it since the beginning, but I'm also pleased to note that some new direction and new invigoration is being sought out to take that program on to the next level. Other activities I've had, we had a Rural Advisory Council teleconference just prior to the launch of the Rural Dividend Program. And I've had numerous face-to-face meetings and telephone conversations with members of the public, mostly dealing with budget, fees and charges issues, and many of those end up with referrals back to staff. And that's my report that Kelly has a copy of, and I missed 2 things, but they were covered by Councillor Record.
Well, for me, I attended both the Dunster and McBride's public information meetings on the library and museum projects. Very informative, good response overall, so everybody could get out and vote at the end of April. That would be awesome. I also attended budget meetings on the 29th and April 5th. Last week, I attended the Kofi conference, which was held in Kelowna this year. I've had various meetings with residents on numerous topic matters, and also an MCFC meeting, so that was basically my last week or so. So we'll go on to administration. We'll start on page, did you want to do like your normal stuff and then go into what here, or did you just want to address these tonight?
No, tonight I address these. I
Just these?
report out at the end of the month.
Okay, so 36 on the BC rural dividend.
Well, I feel I should let the expert speak on that.
Nope, you have.
What administration is recommending is that council form a subcommittee of councillors and others in the local and regional community. And for the purpose of that is to evaluate and select applications for the Village of McBride as an eligible community. So this is going forward with the granting processes.
Is that it?
That's our recommendation.
That one. Now, how does council feel about that? There's numerous ways to go about addressing this. So, Rick, did you want to speak to this process at all? Sorry, Councilor Thompson.
It is a short timeline. It is a very worthwhile, well, it's a very exciting project, opportunity that's been given to communities under 25,000. I think that it would be useful to have a subcommittee to look through the grant applications along with, for example, Karen, and review what might be some potential direction for projects. I would myself not participate in that because I would not want the community, I wouldn't want it to appear that this community had an advantage over another community. However, I would suggest that if a subcommittee or a group is struck, that I would be more than willing to come and do a presentation to that group with the information that I can provide from the Rural Advisory Council to get them off on the right foot, moving towards projects that might be acceptable. I would strongly suggest that even if the direction is not there to do a full project starting, because it wouldn't happen probably till 2017-18, but even if there wasn't that opportunity, the group should definitely look at the $10,000 Meeing grants that are available that allow you to prepare for a grant application in the future. I believe that there is the potential for some good partnerships that could be done with neighboring communities moving forward that would take the Robson Valley region one step farther. And we've talked about those in some regards with Miles Brooks. So I think it's a good idea to discuss what direction people might want to take. You're going to have to get buy-in for the project, and as you read the program guide, you'll see that there's lots of criteria that has to be met. It's not difficult. We tried to make the program as user-friendly as possible. And I can speak to that, but I think it's a good idea. I would like to see us have an application in for a project, if possible, for the first intake.
We stand a better chance on the first intake, right?
You will stand an equal chance on every intake. And just because, even if you were successful on the first intake, that doesn't mean you can't apply on the second intake, or the third, or the fourth, or the fifth, or the sixth,
Okay.
because there'll be 6.
Maybe what we should do is an expression of interest out to the community members on who would like to participate on the subcommittee. But we should do it in quick order because of the tight timelines, because May 31st is the first deadline.
It's very soon.
I would suggest that you create a select committee to do it. Would be your
It's very soon, yeah.
A select committee,
Mhm.
but we'd have to know who to appoint to that, wouldn't we? I think we should do an expression of interest, and then if I have to create a select committee, then we do that, but,
If you do a select committee, you can very quickly put the mandate of what's required moving forward, and appoint the committee, and their job is to come up with the recommendation to bring back to this council.
okay.
So yes, an expression of interest, to sit on a select committee.
This is on a select committee.
Mayor Martin, would it be, for something like this, and I am looking at it, our timelines are very short on it. If we get it into the newspaper, I'm wondering if we could not use our little local, the little McBride newspaper, as well as the webpage and the Facebook presence, so that we can get that request out, so that anyone who is interested can respond in a very timely fashion.
Okay. We could probably get it, something up and out by the end of the week.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like tomorrow?
Mm,
Okay, all right.
Maybe.
All right, so.
I'll make it a priority.
All right, so we'll get that up and going, and then, once we get that formed up, Rick, we'll get a date and then get you to come and present.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So while, is there council members you would like to appoint to the select committee, or council members that may have an interest?
Well, I would definitely like to, love to be on it, but I guess it depends on meeting times and stuff like that, if the group that usually, because if they meet during Monday through Thursday during the week, Councilor Teresa can't be there. So it really, I think it's really gonna depend on who puts in and how to arrange that time.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we'll have that.
So if we could wait for, I think it would be wise to wait for that.
Okay.
Of course, keeping in mind that, Mayor, you are a member of any
Yeah.
select committee,
Mhm.
whether you're appointed to it or not.
Yeah.
I didn't have it in front of me to look at which ones were which. All right, so that's, that'll be good then, we'll get an expression of interest going on that one. The next one is on page 39, the Farm Credit Canada Agri-Spirit Fund. That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, and we would like council to support our application. As you can see, what we're trying to do is still trying to get mobility access, people with mobility challenges, wheelchair access, both in the back and in the front. That involves having wider doors and whatnot. If council would give us a motion to support this, we would like to get this in. We've done up our work, and we have to submit by April 18th.
Okay, so I don't have a motion here, so the motion would be that council support an
Yes.
application for funding to the FCC Agri-Spirit Fund to make the council village chambers and office accessible with a wheelchair ramp and automated doors. So I would need a mover and a shaker on that one.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments on that one, council? Councillor Thompson?
Question to administration, does it indicate the estimated cost of this project is $30,000? What is the shared funding portion or amounts on this grant application?
This one isn't a shared funding, I don't believe. I think this is, we get it, or it might be 25,000, and we go up on it. It was something that yeah, it could go up to 25,000. So if we're fortunate enough to get that, then we would, the village would have to meet the 5,000.
So it's not a,
It's not a 100%.
it's not an 80-20?
No, it's a 5,000 to 25,000, and our project cost has been priced out at 30,000.
Okay, but maybe I'm not,
Oh,
correct me if I'm just,
Right.
no, I'm a little confused. So
mhm.
you said it's not 100% funding,
No,
so,
grants are awarded from anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000.
but
Our
will they,
project will be over
will they
25.
give you 25,000, like full funding? for
That is our sincere hope.
So it is a 100% funding?
Yeah, that is our hope.
Up to 25,000.
Up to 25,000. And we, I should, in all honesty, we have tried, I think, 2-3 years ago. Council at that time tried to go through the Farm Credit Canada. The reason the application wasn't successful that time is because it hadn't expressed that we actually do serve a farming community, that we have farms and ranches all around us. And so what we've done is strengthened the narrative on that. We've gone into the agricultural notes and included them in this project. So it is our hope that by strengthening that application, we will be successful this time.
And there is, sorry if I may, there is already on file engineered drawings for this?
There was, yes, absolutely.
It's basically shelf ready.
Well, yes and no, but yes, mostly shelf ready, which was nice, so we got quickly on that.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. Next item on the agenda is page 40, the preliminary layout approval for the Lagoon subdivision.
Yes, thank heavens, finally. It was a really long return time on this. We received it in the mail 2 days ago, or like Friday, it was here when I got back. So I'm really pleased to say that we have a preliminary approval for the subdivision for the lagoon system. There's a bit more work to do. One is a contaminated site report, which has to be given in, and the other is working with our approving officer, Mr. Simmons, and we must arrange for a flood covenant against that property. So it's attached to the property folio. And so it's looking really good. Much longer than I thought by the new year, but it's maybe by next new year. So, but it is well on the way. We've passed all the major hurdles now. And so it's just a wrap-up of reports and basically paperwork now. And then, of course, waiting for their response to that, which can take some time as well.
That's just for information. Did
Yes, it
council
is.
have a question?
I did just for clarification.
Mhm.
So this was to remove the Sandman, a piece of Sandman property from, I can't remember the,
This was because the lease, so this was the work that was supposed to have been completed by March of 2013. So where that was piece. So the first thing that we had to do was a complete survey. From there, we had to do an amalgamation to add part of yes, exactly, part of the Sandman lot becomes part of the plot becomes part of the Village of McBride plot. Do you remember the schematics with the different colored outlines that we presented, goodness, back in November, I think it was, or even before that? So what happens now is we are responsible for that entire piece of land, and it is, and it's all been subdivided out now. That has been approved by all the authorities like Environment, Ministry of Transportation, except for the notes, as you saw, that we have to do the contaminated site reports. So when this is finished, this process, at that point, Northland's lawyer will then go ahead and create the lease so that that property becomes under the care and control of the village and the lagoon system until like 70 years from now. So,
thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to I've got page 49, which is Build Canada. And you want to address that one as well, Colin?
It's the last intake for the Builds Canada. It's a 33%, so a 30-30-30 split. Province, federal, and the village itself. We're still looking, the main priority identified was the water intake in the settling ponds for the drinking water for the community. We would like to have a motion of your support for this. We're not worried, we do understand that we haven't identified reserve funds, but in actuality, this, once it goes forward, we probably wouldn't hear back until into the next year cycle, the next fiscal year. Or if we knew it could start for the next fiscal year, that's what we would propose. There are some costs attached to this because this sort of grant isn't one we do off the side of our desk. This is one that needs engineering schematics and stuff. We have all of those schematics in place. We've already paid for them from Radloff Engineering and they've presented them to us. However, there are updates that need to be done to them. They're still saying that they believe the estimated total cost of the project will be $320,000. So the village's share of that would be 33% of that, so 110,000 or 105,000. We think it's doable. We can meet the deadline. So it's our recommendation that council at this time consider that and support that application with a motion. If not, we have spoken to the Build Canada, and there is no thoughts of this going, you know what I mean? They don't say, yes, we're doing this for the next 20 years. They don't say much of anything. Yeah.
All right, could I get a motion then that the Village of McBride submit an application for your new Build Canada Fund, Small Communities Fund, drinking water component for the Dominion Creek water intake replacement?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Tracy. Any other comments or questions, council? No, that's a good job, Colin.
Yeah.
I'll call the question then, all in favor? Carried. All
In all fairness, I have to say a lot of this cannot be done without our wonderful Karen's help.
I'll thank her. I'm sure she's well appreciated. All right, so on finance,
I don't know what Kelly put in there. Check listings, should have been check listings, but financial actuals will be done at the end of the month.
end of the month? Okay. And we've got a brief one in there from Public Works.
Mm-hmm.
So can I get a motion to receive the reports for information?
So moved.
Second.
Tracy, Councillor Thompson, oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Councillor
that's
Rickard, Councillor Thompson. Call the question, all in favor? Carried. All right, so the next one requiring action is 53 in your agenda package, and it's for the Scotiabank fundraiser. So can I get a motion that council allow 3rd Avenue from Main Street to the back alley behind Scotiabank to be closed for the BCCH barbecue fundraiser on May 20th, 2016 from 9 a.m. through to 4 p.m.
Move. Okay. Second.
Okay, any comments or questions on that? Nope, I'll call the question, all in favor? Carried. And we've got a bunch there on the Woodstock Exchange Program, Ministry of Environment, and Mr. Frederick's letter on the Yellowhead Highway Association. I believe that's been forwarded to Councillor Bezanson because he's the representative. So, any other questions on anything for information? I do note that the Wood Exchange Program, a long time ago, actually said they were going to come to council in April and present to us for how local residents could get in on the wood program.
That's correct, they've chose to send us this update.
Okay, so they're not going to come to this?
Not that I'm aware of, Tiffany had, or Ms. Bonet had indicated that, but we have not heard back. I can certainly follow up with an email.
Would you please?
I would absolutely do that.
All right, so then we've got the outgoing on the CN situation from the last one. And moving on to number 8, which is bylaws, permits, and policies. So this one you've got a bit of a handout on from the applicant.
I do.
So the first thing is a motion that council receive Mr. Simmons' report and the temporary use permit 2016.04.04 vacation rentals on 3rd Avenue. Can I get a mover?
Moved.
Councillor Eckhart, seconder.
No, second.
Okay, any comments on that? No? We do have the applicant in the audience, so if council has any questions, we can ask her on it.
Sure. This is first and second reading, to move to a public hearing.
This is to receive approving officer Simmons' report.
Okay. Well,
Call the question, all in favor? Carried. All right, next item is, now, I noticed in there that he doesn't call it like a public hearing.
It is a full public
Full
hearing, yes,
Which
it
one?
is, absolutely.
But there is no bylaw attached. Okay.
There isn't, what bylaw did you want?
I was actually referring to Rick's comment, but that's okay.
Oh,
Let's just move ahead with this. A motion that the public hearing on the temporary use permit number 2016.04.04 be held prior to the consideration of issuance. I need a mover on that. That's Tracy, seconder.
No, seconded.
That's Rickard. Discussion.
I'm just questioning. So, do we not do first and second reading on this temporary use permit application so that it will then go to a public hearing?
that was not approving officer Simmons' recommendation.
Yeah, that's what, I got out of that one too. So what page is that on? Page 60.
I'm just concerned with the process.
Approving Officer Simmons as his recommendations are on page 62. He made two of them. One, that this report be received, and two, the public hearing of temporary use permit be held prior to consideration of issuance.
Yeah, on page 61 there, he's got that although the Local Government Act specifies that council may consider a temporary use permit by resolution in a public meeting, most jurisdictions hold a public hearing as part of the process, allowing those deemed interest a chance to submit input prior to a decision being made.
Yes.
So, yeah, it doesn't look like it has to go to bylaw, because that was kind of my thing too.
No, and he does say that this is allowed, but his recommendation in this case is that public hearing be held. I suppose so the council can have any input from the public before they go forward with the bylaw process.
Okay, and he also suggests that the building inspector and the fire inspector comment on any need for upgrading from its present status to a commercial tourist accommodation.
That's correct.
So would that be just done as a,
That's an
Direction?
administerial function, yes.
okay. Any other questions?
How quickly could this happen? Like, is there something that we could do, like, just keep it up, or?
Like the
just-
public hearing
Yeah.
part?
Isn't it
A
take-
public hearing needs to be posted publicly for,
I'm not suggesting we do it tonight.
no,
Saying-
can't do it tonight.
Is there some way to-
Realistically, it
We
could,
used to fit them in just prior to council
in
meetings.
absolute, that would probably be the best way to do it.
Okay.
Well, so I would say that we could try, although, as council knows, I have asked for consideration about a committee of the whole meeting before the next meeting in April. That would be for council to decide.
Could we have a committee of the whole meeting after? Like, how long is that gonna take, do you think? There'll be a
Usually I
public
don't think-
hearing
I
to
wouldn't
take
think
care of
over
all of
an
that.
hour.
There's not that many people that would be affected by that, I don't imagine.
Well, the parking seems to be the only thing that's, yeah, that seems to be brought up as a relative concern.
I'm just writing on it. I'm just wondering whether it has to be advertised in 2 weeks of
This is a
newspaper.
proper public hearing. for
Right,
zoning. So if we get it in, we can't, I'm sorry, because of the one newspaper only doing every other week now. So the soonest we could hold it before our first council meeting of May.
How many papers do we have to have it in?
Just the one, but it has to be 2 weeks consecutively.
2 weeks or two consecutive print dates.
No,
But one of the papers does do it every week, right?
yes,
Two of
one
our
does,
papers
yes.
do.
Yeah, one does.
So, would a motion that a public hearing on the temporary use permit be held at the earliest possible convenience following the
Or
rules?
should we grab a calendar and pick a date for it?
Or just leave it to administration to go through and make sure they've
Yeah,
met
we
guidelines?
could have it on its own, the public hearing. It could be before a council meeting.
Could we do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
It was more done for convenience, that way you're not
Yeah.
having,
Right.
But
Staff having
we could
meetings
do
5
it
days a week.
just as a standalone one evening.
I left my calendar at home. I don't know. We'll just- Any suggestions?
yeah, how about we get administration to provide a convenient date to.
I don't know how long
to
it
do the
has to
public
be,
hearing.
how much notice would have to be in and everything.
Exactly.
So administrators will follow up on that, and then also follow up on the building inspector and fire inspector
Yes.
too, comment, and then follow up with us.
Yeah.
All right, so is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call the question then, all in favor? Carried. All right, new business, the ancient cedar forest on page 64 of your agenda. I've also asked administration to provide a copy of the letter that we sent to, during the whole process, which outlined our concerns with balancing the competing uses in the proposed area. So in that, and then I forget to look this up, 64. So in this one, we'd asked, the motion was to actually put our name forward to make sure that we had a representative on the management committee, but it doesn't actually say that they're necessarily going to form one. What they say there is that there will be, BC Parks will prepare a management plan for the park, and it will be done in collaboration with the Latetnahay First Nation and stakeholders and public input. So I wanted to ensure that we didn't miss this opportunity to make sure that those park uses continue into the future, or the uses that we have now. So I wanted to put forward a motion that council proposed to propose a representative of the Village of McBride to the Ancient Cedar Forest Management Committee when it is formed.
So,
Okay. Councilor Reichert, Councilor Tracy. Any other comments on that?
Excuse me.
Questions? Oh, there's quiet. Okay, call the question, all in favor? Carried. Next item on the agenda is the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association AGM from May 13th to 14th in Edmonton. They don't have any information on the site yet other than the dates. So we need a motion that council direct administration to register and arrange travel coverage for Councilor Bezanson to attend the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association AGM. By Councilor Tracy.
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions on that one? Okay, call the question, all in favor? Carried. All right. Now, so we still have the questions from the public afterwards.
They do until we are done. Or you could make an exception.
Would council entertain that we move, because we do have two people signed up here to address items on the agenda. We are going to go in camera, so rather than have them wait around, would council entertain moving that to right now? Okay. Do I need a motion on
Yes,
that,
you
Kelly?
do.
So can I get a motion to move the questions from the public to before in camera?
so moved.
All in favor?
We're in discussion.
Sorry, I didn't think you wanted one, go ahead.
I think we should leave them sit outside.
Do we need a second?
All in favor? Carried. All right, so first on our list, we have Beth Frederick for utility fees. Beth?
Yes, just a little background. On March 19th, I sent an email to told village councillor and mayor regarding the hike of my concern of business utility rates, and asked them their individual position on the approval process. Councillor Thompson wrote back with his position. Councillor Reichert wrote back saying that she had forwarded my email to the CO for an explanation to email me, which I've never received. I wrote to Councillor Reichert back explaining that I wanted her position. On April 5th, I resent my emails. Mayor Martin replied, forwarding it onto the CAO, and Mayor Martin actually personally spoke to me and said she was going to be away, and assured me that she would get back to me this week, so thank you for that. I gave the other councillors until April 8th to get back to me with their responses, and I've not received any feedback from them. I'm a little disappointed with Councillor Bezanson and Councillor Tracy, because you have been voted in by the community as councillors, and I respect that. And you're representing us as community members and business owners. And I just want to know why you're not answering. I think it's a topic of major concern with us as business owners. I sent the emails respectfully, and even if the answer you give me I don't agree with, or it's not the answer I want, I still think it's important to answer, and I just felt really disrespected that my emails were ignored. And I just want to say that.
Thank you, Beth. Mr. Frederick, public and press questions. I hope that's not a whole list of questions.
Let's see agenda.
Oh, it's only 16 pages. No. Honest, it's not. Part of my question, you've already addressed by having the motion about moving the item up to number 5, so that
Okay,
you would hear us before you make your decisions.
okay.
Okay? The other question was about my letter about the Yellowhead Highway Association. Was under information only, and I was suggesting that maybe council has to do a resolution to address the 3 points that I had in there about more presence on the highway, and maybe having the transportation of the coroner and the police investigator by helicopter, rather than if, for instance, at one of the accidents that we had at just on the other side of Tijon this year, the police investigator was doing an accident up by Smithers, and then he had to drive all the way here. Now, he drives pretty fast, and the weather was not bad for him, but it still was a matter of 5 or 6 hours for him to get to the scene, and for the coroner to get to the scene as well. And what that does is it stops traffic for that number of hours, and that's very expensive and very costly for a lot of the transportation industry.
Okay.
And then the other one was about the traffic controllers letting vehicles go in bigger multiples than 10 or 12. And I think that's what they've got to do, is only let 12 cars go, because as soon as you get past an accident, people start passing and jockeying for position as fast as they can. And all you're going to do is maybe cause another accident. So that was the other thing. But I think that council should be doing a resolution addressing those points and presenting it at the Trans-Canada Yellowhead Highway Association.
Okay, well, with your information already being sent to Councillor Bezanson, who's our representative, from that, he will look at that, and we have done motions here before to go to the Trans-Canada, so I'll definitely let him know what you've said.
Okay.
And then he can bring forward motions, and then if he has any questions, he can contact you directly.
Yeah, by all means, because I haven't heard back from him again too on my letter as well.
We'll probably have to help him because although he does know how to do emails now, he's really terrible at typing.
Okay,
Okay. I'll make sure I follow up with that one.
thank you.
All right. So now the next item is a motion that in accordance with sections 91C and D, that the meeting be moved to in camera.
So moved.
Councillor Reichardt,
Second.
Councillor Tracy, all in favor? Carried. And then a motion that the open meeting be recessed at 8 what?
8:18.
8:18.
So moved.
Second.
Councillor Tracy, in order to conduct the closed in-camera meeting. All in favor? Carried. Thanks everyone for coming out.